who is a tenant. She's a tenant rep and as well as a tenant up at in the Jane Finch area at Fir Grove. Janet Mason, who is a professor at or associate professor, whatever, at the University of Toronto and a former assistant deputy minister of housing for the province of Ontario. Julie West is here, and we've got Phil Gillies, who is the secretary of the committee. Phil Gillies over here. You better than anybody. Okay, now, can we get the first slide up? This is what I propose to be the agenda tonight. You're going through the first part right now. The second part is a table discussion where at each table you would discuss what is TCHC doing right, what do you like about what they're doing, and what concerns do you have about or what complaints do you have about their operation. That would be for about half an hour, and then we would get a report back from each table. Now we have at each table a facilitator. That's a city employee. I think they're all city employees. Volunteers. Volunteers. Well, thank you, volunteers. They don't have to report back, but somebody from each table has to report back. They'll keep notes. They'll facilitate. And then after that, we'll go back for a further period of time of table discussion. How can we improve Toronto Community Housing Corporation? And then we'll get a report back on that. And then finally, we'll open up the mics. And anybody wants to get up?
I want to speak.
You're going to want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody wants to get up and do something, we'll do it. And so at that point
I want to speak.
Is that okay? Does that look okay? Thank you very much. Okay, well, the task force terms of reference, maybe before I get to that, let me point out a couple of other logistical things. For those who are taking photographs, apparently there are blue cards on some table. And a blue card means that table is not, they don't want you to be photographing. So all those with cameras, don't photograph the table with blue cards.
It's a public meeting.
Okay.
Are we going to get sued?
Now, you'll see also on the walls those pieces of paper, they have the word. Okay. They have the word ideas. You have on your table some what do they call them, Post-it notes. And you can write out an idea. You get to look over that wall there. You can see some already up there. So you can put some ideas down and post them up there. Not everybody will want to get up to microphones and speak. So we're giving you every opportunity to either do that, the ideas, boards, or just discussions within your table. I also wanted to, having introduced the mayor, then I want to also introduce Councillor Kristen Long-Tam as the councillor for this area. So now we're in the task force terms of reference. I guess the short term of reference is to say, look, if we want to make the conditions on which people live in Toronto community housing better for them, we want to make sure people have decent housing. So, current operations and service delivery is a key part of that. Partnerships and innovation with different community organizations, either in support services or some of the non-profits or co-op housing people. Next slide. The capital revitalization and new development, and governance. Governance, how it's structured. Should we change it, or is the status quo an option? Should we turn it over to city council to run it? Should we change the responsibilities in some way, or have some sort of a blended approach? Next slide. Now, just a few facts about Toronto Community Housing. It's the largest social housing provider in the country. And it's the only one that's bigger in the whole continent is the New York Housing Authority. So it's a big, was I stepping on this? So it's a big entity. Question is, should it be that big? anyway, 90% of public housing in the GTA and 44% in Ontario is represented by that one corporation, Toronto Community Housing. It's home to 58,500 households. That's in about 2,200 buildings. I think I've managed to get to about 60 so far, so be patient. I'll try to get to your building. Somebody want to correct this? Okay, so you don't watch further, I'll be at the door. So 58,500 and 2,200 buildings. It's a $9 billion public asset. It's one of the largest residential developers in Canada. You probably know about the Regent Park revitalization. There's also revitalization going on in other places of the city, in Alexander Park and in other developments. There's about 1,600 people work for it. Next slide. There's an interesting fact. 94% of TCHC residents live below the poverty line. And a lot of them, as you can see, are seniors, are children. You can see a little bit of the makeup there. And up to 75% of TCHC households rely on social assistance as the primary source of income. Next. And here are, this is the age of some of the buildings. This is one of the reasons why there's a $2.6 billion program over the next 10 years to be able to renovate a number of the structures because they're getting old and they need quite a bit of upgrading. And you can see some of the unit types. I'm not sure. Anyway, the final slide just reiterates that here's the number of units, here's the number of buildings, with 370 communities across the city. So that's just a brief sketch of what TCHC is all about. So now, I think that's it for the slides, right? Okay, so now the only other thing I want to point out is there is a piece of paper, I think you got this on your tables, with a questionnaire. You can fill that out at any time and speak back and give it to us at the end. Also, I met a lady from Scarborough who didn't know that there was a meeting in Scarborough. So I want to tell you that we have 3 more of these meetings. This one is the Toronto Central meeting, but there will be one in Scarborough at the Civic Centre on Tuesday, May 19th, another one in Etobicoke on Wednesday, May 20th, and on Monday, May 25th in North York. So four of these public meetings all together, and I told a couple of the tenant reps that I also want to have, because there are tenant reps right across the city in the different buildings, I want to have a meeting with the tenant reps. I think sometime in June. We haven't set a date yet, but we will do that. So let's now get to the next stage of the agenda, and that is to in fact have table discussions. There's a facilitator at each table, a volunteer, and they will help lead you in the discussion. Basically, we want to hear from you. Whatever you think TCHC might be doing well, and whatever you think needs a lot of improvement or some improvement. And maybe each table, in terms of the improvements you think, get 3 ideas maybe from each table, and we'll get them all reported out at the end. So take the next 20 minutes or so, and we'll and have those discussions, and then we'll be back here.